Hey everybody, I am Rosie and welcome back into the kitchen. I made 2 loaves of ciabatta bread, which is the Italian word. Ciabatta means slipper in Italian. And it's the bread that has the big holes in it. It's rapidly becoming my favorite bread. It is delicious. One loaf was not real good. The second loaf was great. But in using it, since it's very flat, it's not the best bread to make sandwiches with because it's flat. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be kind of interesting? Maybe we could make that ciabatta style, but we could use a Pullman loaf to make a full like sandwich type of loaf. And it might still have the big holes in it and be delicious like a ciabatta bread. So I thought, well, why don't we try doing it today? It's going to be interesting. It might be the biggest fail on planet Earth, or it might go good, but you'll be along. So let's get going. So I started last night, as you should do. You should always start your bread the night before because you'll have more flavor because the dough, in this case the batter, has time to ferment. And I used 1.5 cups of bread flour, about a cup of water, cup and a third of water, half a teaspoon of yeast, and a half a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to go place this on the mixer now, and I'm going to add 2.5 cups of bread flour, a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of yeast, and we're going to build this up to a bigger batter. I do have my Pullman loaf here, which we're going to be using today, so I am excited. So I'm all set up on the KitchenAid here, and I have the 2.5 cups of bread flour, 2 teaspoons of yeast, a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add another cup or 2 of water as we go along. I don't want this to be too thin, but I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm going to just start it up with this, and then we'll add the water. I went ahead and added a full cup of lukewarm water, so we'll see if that comes together. The important thing is, as the flour absorbs the moisture, it will start to pull away from the sides here, and that's the important thing. So I ended up, because I put too much water in with that extra cup, I ended up putting like 4 additional cups of flour in here. So now it's doing what I wanted to do, which is pull away from the side here. So what I'm going to do is just knead that for about 10 minutes and then transfer it to a greased bowl. You might ask, well, how do I know when it's the dough is enough water to flour ratio? And you can see the way when I'm kneading it, it cleans the side of the bowl, and this is a very important thing. If I turn it off, yes, it will start to sink down. But that's the way you want. You want a loose dough here. And you can see there's a shine on it too. And that's your second indication that you are ready to go. So I'm going to literally pour this into a glass bowl. Okay, now this will be the weird part, making bread for a lot of you. And if you've never seen your dough kind of pour in, well, this will be your chance. But you see, it's not really sticking to the side. So therefore, it's exactly where you want it to be. And just work it with a spatula into the bowl. Okay, get it off the side and into the bowl. You have to get used to working with a dough that you're not used to working with. Make sure you get all that goodness in there, okay? Don't leave any behind. All right. Hands are clean. We don't like wastefulness, so Shouldn't really taste raw dough either, but I do so many things wrong. It's amazing. So there it is. I've sprayed the bowl, and I'm going to spray the top of it. You can see it's a nice jiggly dough. And I'm going to cover it and let it sit for about an hour. Okay? See you in an hour. All right, it's been about 45 minutes, so this is when it's going to get a little bit tricky. We need to fold this over to the halfway. We need to fold, well, all the way over. We need to fold that side over. Then we need to turn it 90 degrees and do the same thing. So let's start here. Try to get underneath. Pull that over. We're going to get to this side. Pull that over. And take this side, pull that over, and finally we're going to take the last side and pull that over. And we're going to try to get underneath and lay the whole thing over again. Okay, that turned out pretty good. We're going to cover that with the plastic. And we'll see you guys in 45 minutes. At that turn, we're going to turn on the oven. After that next turn, after it sits for a while, we're going to turn on the oven and then put it into our Pullman loaf pan. Okay? All right, excited? Okay, here comes the hard part, and here's where my big ham-fisted hands don't do justice to this bread. We have the Pullman loaf here. This is risen multiple times. I need to now transfer this over as best I can without deflating the loaf. So I'm going to do what we've been doing. Turn it into the middle here. Turn it again into the middle. Turn it again into the middle. Turn it again in the middle. And I'm going to try to raise it out. And I'm going to try to center the loaf in here. I'm going to hold one end while I let that end pour down. And I'm going to hold up this end while I let that pour down. And I'm going to try to push that out to the ends there. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Okay, it's now time to, and that should expand to the ends. I just don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to do, I want to minimize the deflation of the loaf. And as it rises, it should be able to fill to the end there. So let's go ahead and pop the heat on to 450 degrees. Make sure you have an iron skillet in the bottom of your oven too, because we're going to put some ice cubes onto that skillet. That skillet should be heating up with the oven. We're going to put the bread in, we're going to spray the top, and we're going to drop the ice cubes in the skillet. Very important. That's going to slow down the formation of the crust, giving us maximum oven spring here. Okay? Okay. Okay, I have the oven on. I'm going to spray that and cover that with plastic. And we'll let that do its final rise as the heat comes up from preheating. I do have a circulating fan. It's a convection oven. That will blow some heat out, and that will warm that up because it's about the 59 degrees. It's a blustery day, so it's about 59 in the house, so it's going to take a little while. I'm excited. That looks like it is risen pretty well there, and it's going to rise some more. I think it's got the makings of a real nice loaf. It has a lot of air in it, a lot of gas in there. So we're going to go ahead and spray this. We always do with our atomizer to wet the surface of that. And I'm going to prepare a couple cups of ice. We're going to pop this in and finish this off. I may let this rise about 10 more minutes or so. I really want to get the maximum out of this loaf. And because the house is chilly, be careful when you're handling because you could easily deflate it. You might want to let that just rise a bit more. I think I will. So we'll see you in about 15 minutes. Alright, we're going to give one more spray. This is going to be a tall loaf. We're probably going to go over the top. So I'm going to put the loaf in, and of course I have a baking stone. And I'm going to take the ice and pour it down into the skillet. We're not going to check this for about 40 minutes or so, okay? Very important. Do not open the door or you'll deflate it. Let at least 40 to 45 minutes go by, okay? Okay. Alright, it's been 45 minutes. I can smell it. Oh, that's looking good. We're going to go another 15 minutes here, okay? With that nice and brown. Total bake time has been 1 hour, and that looks really good there. So I think 1 hour we're going to pull that and let it cool off and then later slice it. There's the finished loaf today. It's nice and tall, and it's probably going to be better for slicing for sandwiches. The color's good. It's got that nice crust on it all the way around. So we'll see you guys when it comes time to slice it up. I think I'm going to make a sandwich for dinner tonight. So I'll be back. As promised, here's the ciabatta loaf as opposed to the wide loaf slipper loaf. I made it in a sandwich loaf. I'll be trying it later. Thumbs up and follows appreciated.